ISL 2020 continues back here in Budapest for week number 3. And oh, what a start we have. A rematch of the tightest match we've seen so far this season between LA Current and the Tokyo Frog Kings. And throw in the London Roar, one of 2 unbeaten teams in the International Swimming League. Swimming reimagined indeed at this point after 2 weeks of swimming. It's the Cali Condors leading the standings. They have 8 points at the top of the table. But as we mentioned, it's only the second match of the season for the London Roar. They're unbeaten. And again, only 8 teams are going to move on to the semifinals, and this very well could help determine it. We are so glad you decided to join us for ISL 2020, 3-time Olympic gold medalist Rowdy Gaines. I'm Bernie Gunther. We got the drama on the team side. So many great races. In London, they boosted their roster.
Yeah, and if you think about London, they win match 2. LA wins match 3. Tokyo took them all to the way to the wire. And then you throw in DC, who could be a spoiler for any one of these 3. On paper, the most intriguing match we've had since the beginning of the season.
And certainly you can't count out the Current. And Beryl Gastadello, she was 7 for 7 last time she was here, and she won the MVP with 78 points.
Well, there's no doubt she was perfect in match 3. And if LA is going to win again, she may have to be flawless once more.
Biggest difference maker in the relay could be Adam Peaty.
We better highlight the most popular male British swimmer in history, Olympic gold medalist and world record holder. We'll see him swim 3 different events today, the 200, the 50, and the all-important 400 medley relay.
All right, we're going to see a big day for London. Can they remain unbeaten? We begin with the 100 butterfly, our first event on the pool deck and probably the biggest match of the season for DC Triton. There is Caitlin Sandino watching her team, hoping that they can come away with a couple of big points. Remember, only 8 of the 10 teams move on to the semifinals. And the finals here, November 21st, 22nd, only 4 teams can advance. And there she is, Beryl Gastadello, her first time in her ISL career swimming the 100 butterfly, coming off that 78-point effort. She won the 50 free, won the 100 backstroke, won the 100 free, 50 fly, and the 50 free skins.
On paper, again, and we kind of throw that out the window once the meet starts, but boy, this shapes up maybe to be the closest race we've seen thus far. 6 100ths of a second separates 3 swimmers, and that doesn't include Beryl Gastadello, who is swimming this for the first time this season. Her best time, though, 4 100ths of a second off of the fastest thus far, and that's Hasegawa. Waddle, Shabana O'Connor, throw her in as a wild card. Boy, I mean, across the board, there are at least 5 swimmers in here that have a chance to win this race.
Yeah, Waddle won this event for the first time in her career for the London Roar back in match number 2.
She's got the fastest time this season,
and
56:45, actually tied with Hansen.
It's Tesloff and Gastadello.
I didn't even mention her. She wasn't even in the conversation when we thought about this race before it started. And look at her go, Tetzloff. Even if she can place in the top 3, this would be huge for LA.
Tesloff in the lead. We're told that Waddle false started, even though she's taken the lead. Gastadello down the stretch, trying to win the 100 fly, and Beryl Gastadello has done it.
And how about that? London will go, LA will go 1-2, and why not a big smile from Tetzloff? What a swim for her, because Waddle, and there's the coach from London saying, Melanie's going, you know what? I think Waddle might have DQ'd. That is going to be huge to start this meet. We got a long way to go, but watch the flinch. Lane 3, I didn't see it there. She was in lane 4. I still didn't see the flinch. I'd like to see that. I didn't see it at all. She might have gone a little early. If you look at it from a standpoint of her reaction time, I didn't see anything, and so there is not a DQ. There was nothing to see there. In fact, she was dead last off the blocks. .72. She ends up getting second. Now LA will still finish first and third, though, and that is big.
Yeah, no DQ. There is a video review,
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, and it's that's what we should have.
Beryl Gastidello, MVP last time, already with a win here in match number 5. She's down with 5-time Olympian Mark Foster.
She's so much fun.
Beryl Gastidello already getting LA out to the early lead. Look at this one. 3 swimmers rated in the top 10, including Tom Shields, who's won this event 4 times. Interesting story about Tom Shields is back in 2011. He, Brett Hawk, and Jack Roach thought about a pipe dream league, about trying to have a professional swimming league. And now he gets to live that reality. For so many of the swimmers, this is such a big moment to have this ISL, International Swimming League.
I was talking to a lot of the media earlier, and I said that Tom Shields really kind of epitomizes, Bernie, the ability to stay in this sport longer and gives him that chance to keep being successful, and boy, has he been successful for the LA Current. I would argue that he's the most valuable swimmer up to this point on the men's side. Obviously, Beryl Gastidello. And you say, well, what about Ryan Murphy? Well, Tom can not only swim butterfly all 3 strokes, all 3 events, but he can also throw him on a freestyle relay, which he'll be on later on tonight.
Well, Marcus Kusch had a 1/100th of a second lead, but look at Tom Shields on the third 50, trying to win the 100 butterfly for the 5th time in his career.
Boy, this is what he's done time and time again here in Budapest. Take it off that second 50.
Tom Shields living the dream, winning the 100 butterfly, jackpot fashion. Back-to-back wins for LA Current to start things off.
And he goes his best time this season, right off his lifetime best. What a swim again for Tom Shields. He goes out in 22.92. Okay, he's 1/100th of a second behind Kusch going out. But his return, his second 50, 26 flat. That is almost 0.8 of a second ahead of second, who was Kusch, who swam for London. Now, London did a good job of getting second and third. That's what they needed. Stay close. Get that second and third. But big points, Rooney gets 5th for the Current.
It starts with Beryl Gastidello, then Tom Shields helps LA jump out to the early lead. LA leading by 12 after taking both 100 butterflies to start things off here in match number 5. All right, backstage, Ryan Murphy, the overall leader in the MVP standings, looking to battle against Christian Diener in the 200 backstroke. That event coming up. But first, women's 200 backstroke coming out of the pool deck, and this could be a big spot for DC. Trying Amy Bilquist. There she is on the right side of the screen, coming onto the pool deck. She's got 1 ISO win. She won match number 2. And again, for DC, I think the key for them today, Roddy, is they need to win the events that they're supposed to win.
No, there's no question about it. And then avoid the 6th, 7th, and 8th. They've got to start moving up just a little bit to break that stranglehold these top 3 teams have so far proved that they belong. But DC Trident is a good swim team. They have a lot of great swimmers on their team. Great relays. They have a chance. They can do this. And Bilquist needs to start off by winning this event, as you said. It's not going to be easy. London's got 2 solid swimmers in Dawson and Tucson especially.
Yeah, Tucson, second in match number 2. She scored 47.5 points, 7th overall in the MVP standings. But I think that you talk about this Budapest bubble that all the swimmers were in. Originally, she thought that she was going to go back to her training group in the Netherlands at the beginning of November, but she's decided to stay the course, battle against Bilquist, train every day. I think some of the swimmers may be surprised at how much they've gained from being here, but overall this Budapest bubble is just so great for the sport of swimming.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've just been so impressed with the way they've handled almost every facet of this competition. It's been unbelievable. Great start there, middle of the pool. 0.48 on Toussaint. That's the quickest off the blocks I've seen any swimmer do up to this point.
Yeah,
Wow.
At this point, early on, if you're just joining us, LA won the first 2 events. Of course, got a whole slate of events for swimmers to go back and forth. London trailing by just 12 points. Tokyo Frog Kings and the LA Current, those 2 teams went back and forth all the way down to the skins. It decided it's Dawson out to the early lead. No, excuse me, that's Toussaint in the lead in lane number 4. Apologize there.
28-3 going out. That angle on the water right now is just staying so consistent for Toussaint. Just got a beautiful stroke. Reminds me a lot of Irie from Tokyo, who's very high on the water, very clean on the entry, very little splash. Just a beautiful stroke thus far for Kira Toussaint.
All right, Toussaint in the lead. 0.3 of a second ahead of Bilquist. Bilquist went 2:02.23. She beat Toussaint by really over a full second, and she did it moving on the third 50, but Toussaint looks like she's going to have a full body length lead almost. Bilquist still trying to move up.
Made up about a 1/10 on the second 50 Bilquist did, but I think Toussaint is actually going to be faster. Yeah, she's faster than Bilquist there, 30.8 to 30.9. Bilquist is going to have to do it all in the last 50, and she's starting to inch. Oh, yeah.
Bilquist, Toussaint tied now, 25 meters to go. Bilquist a year ago battled severe knee pain, decided to compete in ISL, has had surgery. She's back in the pool, and Amy Bilquist is going to win the 200 backstroke for the second time this season. DC Triton getting the win.
That is fantastic. What a swim for Bilquist. She goes a second faster than she went last week. Not only a second faster, she goes her lifetime best by a half a second. And I can't begin to tell you how big that was for DC Triton. Picked up huge points. Kira Toussaint was great too. She was 2:02.6, which was her best time of the season by a full second. So she certainly did her job there. Allie Duluth had a nice job of getting 4th for LA to kind of keep it in there, but boy, I tell you, this was all Bilquist the last 50. Her last 50, 31.1. Nobody else broke 32. Toussaint was 32.9 on the end. Really faded bad, but boy, she built such a big lead on everybody, she didn't give up second easily.
Big time performance by Amy Bilquist. Jackpot time. Mark Foster's down with the winner, Amy Bilquist. Well, Rowdy, I would say if you like backstroke, we got a backstroke clinic for you today between Bilquist and now Ryan Murphy coming in. It's going to get even better later in the show. 50 backstroke features 3 swimmers who are all the top 3 rated ISL swimmers in the 50 backstroke. But you can't count it out here in this 200 backstroke. This should be quite a battle, and Jacob Pebley just got inserted into the lineup right before the start of match 5.
You talk about the match 2 and 3, the top 3 finishers in each one of those matches. 1, 2, and 3, all different swimmers, by the way, 6 different swimmers. And there are the top 3 right there with the man in the middle, Murphy, who won match 3. Diener to the left won match 2, and then Irie, well, He's only been around for 12 years.
Yeah, and we did see Tokyo again. There's a little bit of a difference, obviously, Roddy, talking about London, LA Current, DC trying. They've all had a full season, but for the Tokyo Frog Kings, they only had 4 or 5 months to put together this roster. And what a roster the Tokyo Frog Kings have put together in about a half a year.
Yeah, I love the way Kitajima has put this team together. Coach Dave Sala, brilliant choice for a coach who is very familiar with a lot of these swimmers and certainly has been so successful himself putting multiple swimmers on Olympic teams and winning Olympic medals. So good choice all around for GM and coach. And you're right, they came to swim.
Ryan Murphy's won the 200 backstroke 4 times already in his career. Jacob Pebley, though, pushing down in lane number 2, trying to make it back-to-back backstroke wins, only 2/10 off the pace.
52.9 for Murphy. Irie 53.1, 53.1 for Pebley. So they're right there. I thought Murph was not as sharp in the second matchup that LA had versus the first one. I just think he went back to work and it kind of showed. He wasn't quite as high on the water, but now with 50 meters left to go, he peeked to his left, and now he'll know exactly where he's at coming off the wall. He's still in first. That's a 28.4, 27.6 for Murphy.
Built almost a full second lead over Pebley, so it's up to Irie and the Tokyo Frog Kings to try to upset Ryan Murphy, but no, it is going to be Murphy. He's going to win the 200 backstroke for the 5th time in his career. The Skins master, and the jackpot time in this was 4.3 seconds, and it looks to be another big jackpot potentially for Ryan Murphy.
You know, Irie was really great, 149.1. You had 4 swimmers break 150 there. Coach David Marsh, there's Kim Bracken, Lenny Kraselberg, the GM of the team. 4 swimmers crack 150. That's how good this relay was. And Luke Greenbank was 4th at 149.9 and got 4th out of that. That's how good this heat was. And what a swim by Murph. Almost goes his lifetime best time. That's 147.3, but certainly the best time of the season and a new ISL record.
Well, we see London take 3 of the first 4, but the difference right now between the Current and Tokyo, separated by only 11 points. Man, match 5 is going to be good. But we told you it was going to be good. 11 points separating first and third, and Annie Laser, who's won the 200 breaststroke, trying to get London their first win here on day 1 of match 5. London, one of 2 teams in ISL 2020 unbeaten. Cali Condors have already won their first 2 matches. They lead the table with 8 points. But this is interesting because we have a rematch of what we saw in match number 2. Annie Laser won that one. Bethany Gallett finished second, and Sydney Pickram third. So London, this is a chance for them to get some big points. They were first and third when they faced off a couple matches ago.
Really, the next 2 events, Bernie, I mean, both the breaststrokes are going to be very, very strong for London, and I know Coach Melanie Marshall is really looking forward to that as they have fallen behind here in the beginning. LA has come out on fire in the wins, but boy, this is where London will be very, very tough. A 1-2 punch with Laser and Pickram.
But the question is, Sakito Shimizu, she's going to be out on lane number 7. She would have been second in that battle had she swam. She won 2:19.17, so she certainly has the power to try to challenge Annie Laser in this event.
And this is definitely a weakness for LA in the breast. They have Kiera Smith and Julia Sebastian going for them, but neither one of them will be a factor for the win. There's Annie Laser right there, and you've seen what she's been able to do in this event. Just been on fire.
Four swimmers rated in the ISL top 10, including Annie Laser, who is second best. Behind who do you think?
I was just going to say, let me guess. It may take me a few minutes to figure out who is first. Who could it be? Oh, yeah, maybe Lily King.
Look at Aoki up in lane number 8. She's on the left side of the screen, really pushing the pace again. This 200 of the stroke is a little bit of a finesse game. You don't want to go out too quick. You don't want to go out too slow. Typically, it seems like it's won on that third 50, but Aoki pushing the pace. Frog Kings 1-2 after the first of 450s.
Well, Tokyo has a great breaststroke contingent, both on the women's and the men's side. And traditionally, Japan itself has probably the greatest tradition of almost any country in the world for breaststroke.
Well, you know Kitajima wants to build a team where he can win the breaststroke, right?
I was just getting ready to say, Kosuke Kitajima, the greatest breaststroker in history perhaps, wants to have those breaststrokers, and they are 1-2 right now and dead even, 107-1 for both of them.
Aoki Shimizu adding 7 and 8, but here comes Annie Laser starting to get into the mix, trying to win the 200 breaststroke for the third time in her career.
She was 4th at the 50, 3rd at the 100 mark, had the fastest 50, that second 50. Think she's going to have the fastest 50 here, the third 50. Let's see what she's been able to do in the past. Come home the last 50. They have built a big lead, though.
Shimizu ahead of Laser by over a half second. Aoki currently third. Here we go down the stretch for the final 50.
Shimizu was actually faster than Laser on that 50 itself, so wow. Look at Shimizu go. This could be a big, big upset if she could hold off Laser.
Could be a big spot. Tokyo trying to get their first win of match number 5. Laser's coming home, but Shimizu trying to hold her off. It's going to be, Tokyo, the Frog Kings, they do it. Shimizu gets the win, and Laser falls to second. That's Shimizu's first ever ISL win.
And she goes faster than she went last week. Everybody just seems to be stepping it up in a big way. Laser was right there at the end. In fact, 15 100ths of a second behind Shimizu at the end. So she was closing 202 meters, she would have gotten her. She was definitely closing. She was 35.5 the last 50. Here she is coming home. 36 flat for Shimizu. Look at that. Look at the aggressive turnover that Laser has, but just ran out of room. I guarantee one more stroke she would have gotten her. But what a swim, what a performance by Sakiko Shimizu and the Tokyo Frog Kings.
And look at how big this is for Tokyo. They only trail the current by 3 points after they pick up 13.
Look at that. Just what we thought, right? 53, 51, 50. This is exactly what we expected for this meet, Bernie.
We had the world record holder coming onto the pool deck for the London Roar. And Kurt Pagoda, who's won this event one time, happened back in match number 2. Will Lacone in lane number 5, ISL rated number 3 in this event. In fact, you got 5 swimmers rated in the top 10. Almost everyone in the field, Rowdy, rated within the top 12.
I think you throw away Koch and McKee, who have been so good for their respective teams. This is the best field we have thus far in the 200 breaststroke overall, top to bottom.
Yeah, there's Sato out in lane number 8. He's got the fastest time this year in ISL 2020 in the field. Will Lacone second 3 times in his career. He's never won. London trying to get their first win here of match number 5.
There's the world record holder. Sato, the fastest of anybody in this group. And don't forget Adam Peaty. He closed in a big way on Pagoda the first meet.
And Roddy, I understand everybody wants to see Adam Peaty, and I'm not questioning Mel Marshall, but one of the things you and I were talking about before this match is Adam Peaty did a great job closing. Obviously, he can score some points, but the question is 200 breast, 50 breast, and that 100 breaststroke at the end. Would he do better for your team? Potentially, just doing the 50 breast and the 100, especially because that relay picks the skins.
Yeah, it's so easy to play that armchair quarterback, and that's what we do up here. But certainly, if he swims it a little bit different, I think he could be a huge factor. Remember, he came from behind the last time. So I think he's still trying to figure out how to swim the 200 breaststroke because he doesn't do it a lot. So if somehow or another he can get in there and win this or get second, I think it's a good decision. Yes, it's going to take the edge off that 100, no question about it. But there are some other swimmers in here that are also on the relays later on.
Man, look at how tight the field is. 5 swimmers in the mix halfway through.
And Petey, much more aggressive this time. 59.4 going out, and that is a lot faster than he went out in the first matchup when he swam this 200 breaststroke. So he certainly looks good going out. Again, we've seen the kind of closing speed he's had in the 100 over in one of the most amazing careers in history. Will he have it here in the 200? He's currently running second and right there at first. Boy, what a split for Petey, 32.7.
All right, Pagoda, Lacone. Will Lacone trying to get his first ever ISL win.
And Lacone, you know, he was second as well in the very first matchup, so he's got a lot of great closing speed. Look at this field now.
Lacone picking it up. Pagoda, Koski for the Tokyo Frog Kings, but it's going to remain L.A. Current. They've got another win. Lacone, his first ISL victory.
How about that? How about Will Lacone? You know, I was talking to him at dinner the other night, and he just seemed to be so relaxed. And what an exciting race for that young man. You know, he's had such an amazing career at the University of Texas, one of the great collegiate swimmers in history in breaststroke for Will Lacone. He has broken record after record in short course yards, so you knew that short course meters. He's proved it long course. He has suddenly belonged long course, but now he belongs in the ISL with a huge victory, 2:03.9. A little off time-wise, but this has nothing to do with the clock. Absolutely nothing. This has everything to do with the win over some high-powered swimmers.
And 4 out of the first 6 races go to the LA Current. But man, oh man, we told you folks it was going to be tight. We did not lie. 4.5 points. That's the difference between first and third as Tokyo shuffles themselves ahead of the London Roar only by a point. Lacone with his first ISL win. He's down with Mark. All right, first opportunity for relays and double points. Again, this is the 3rd match of the season for the LA Current. Basically, you get 4 matches before we move on to the semifinals. Just the 2nd match of the season for the London Roar. 3rd match for DC Triton as well. And again, this is could be the breaking point at the end. If you're talking about winning or losing a match by only a handful of points, you can certainly pick up some big points here where you get 18 points for a first place finish.
Well, the big question mark now is the new swimmer that just arrived from London, and that is Freya Anderson. What is she capable of doing? If she has been able to do any kind of thing like she has in the past, London is going to be very tough on this relay. They won match 2 without her. LA won match 3. Same 4 swimmers they've got. 330.1 to 330.9 for London, but Anderson is the new wild card in this relay. Going to be very interesting to watch her. She will go second on the relay.
Yeah, Hopkin leading off in lane number 4. London trying to get their first win, and it would be a big one to get a relay win here.
Big. It would be huge for London. And Anna Hopkin was 53-1 on their A relay last week. Gorbenko was 52-3, but right now, how about Anna Hopkin having a great race? And this is going to give London a huge boost from the morale standpoint of saying, hey, we got you a lead, hang on to it.
All right, time to see what Anderson can do as she dives in for the first time in ISL 2020. Her team in the lead.
How about Anna Hopkin? 53-1 the first week, 52 flat the second week. That's the difference maker right there. If London wins this, that will point to Anna Hopkin. Wow, what a start. And you know, and Gorbenko was 52-5, so she was solid for LA. Great split for her.
All right, Anderson has the lead, trying to continue this advantage, followed by LA Current, but London leading halfway home in the 400 free relay.
Well, let's see what she goes. Here we go. 51-5.
Oh!
51-5 for Freya Anderson. Well, there you go.
And how big could she be, Rowdy, at the end when we're talking about the 400 medley relay that picks the skins?
You just found your answer to your anchor leg right there. Murez, 51-6 though. 51-6, and doing a great job of kind of hanging right there on the edge. Tetzlaff, we saw what she did in the butterfly earlier. Now, can she just get Weitzel close?
All right, Kamenova has London in the lead as we head towards the anchor leg of this 400 freestyle relay. Tokyo swimming third, but it has been a battle between LA and London, and Waddle's going to swim the final leg against Abby Weitzel, who broke the American record in the 50 freestyle a week ago.
Kamenova did her job for London. 52-1 for her. No question, that was huge. 52-4 for Tetzlaff. Coming after the Hunter Fly, not bad at all. And now, let's see. Well, Weitzel went 51-6 on her relay. Waddle went 52-4 on her relay. So you know that it's going to be tight, and here comes Weitzel.
Oh, wow. LA was trailing by 2/10, but look at how tight it is. London, LA in a battle, digging deep, trying to get 18 points. Waddle going back to her legs. Oh, Marie Waddle answers back on that final 25, holds off LA, and London gets the win.
What an anchor for Waddle. Wow. I mean, she comes into the Hunter Fly. How much gas does she have in the tank? You bet she had a lot of gas left. 51-7. 51-7 for Waddle. What a split. And how about Weitzel doing everything possible? One of the fastest splits in history. 51 flat for Abby Weitzel. Certainly the fastest split thus far of the season. The world record in the 100 freestyle, by the way, is I think 50.9. Now that's flat start. She had a relay start, no doubt about it, but what a split for Abby Weitzel. But you know what? Give credit to Waddle to holding her off at 51-7. But the big news out of this relay, certainly London, double point. But the big news is Freya Anderson and what she brings now to that anchor for London in the medley relay at 51.5. Wow.
How about that final lap? Sealing the deal for the London Roar. 18 points. Oh, they are getting close to LA. But the Current still in the lead after the first relay on day one. All right, it is LA followed by London. in the team standings. 200 IM onto the pool deck in a late change, Rowdy. Again, the coaches can make changes after the relay lengths, and we see Andrew Seliskar, who's won this event 3 times, get replaced by Josh Pernot. One of the changes, and that could be big.
I'm in a bit of state of shock right now of taking Seliskar out. There's got to be a logical reason. It can't be for saving him on a relay, because he won't swim the medley or free relay. I just don't know. We don't know at this point, trying to find out, but he has the second fastest time this season in the 200 IM, even faster than Hagino. We thought this was going to be a huge matchup, and now it's left up to Voss, who was second to Seliskar in week 1, match 1, to be able to take down the Olympic champion, Hagino, in lane number 7.
Yeah,
Watch
Hagino.
Duncan Scott.
Yeah, and you talk about Duncan Scott. He talked about how much he was looking forward to getting in this race with Hagino. We saw Duncan Scott win the 200 freestyle, but again, Hagino, one of those great stories. You think that he's riding high, winning that Olympic championship, winning the gold medal in 2016, but 4 or 5 years as it is, it's a long way for these swimmers to remain on that high.
Well, he certainly went into a huge funk after the Olympics. In fact, we talked about it last week, and the fact that he decided not to go to the World Championships in 2019 and almost thought of retiring, but has really come back. I think he was just mentally and physically exhausted. And just a couple weeks ago at the Japanese Short Course Championship, he won his fastest time in the 400 IM in the last 2 years. So he's just getting better and better, and he'll be there at the end, and he's there right now, that's for sure.
Hagino, Devine, Vaseos for London. London Roar, they would love to get a win as they find themselves trailing by the biggest margin of the match. This one was separated tight early, but LA, they just keep winning races. But London certainly has that type of power to answer back. Tokyo, you expect them to win a race like this, and here comes Hagino. He is going to be right there in the mix, only a 1/10 of a second behind with 50 free to go.
Vazios was 32 flat on that split right there. That was just fantastic. Fastest split of anybody. Hagino 32.7.
All right, Vazios into the lead. Hagino trying to grab him. Can London get the win? Can Vazios hold him off? London roaring again. They get on top. That should put a smile on Mel Marshall's face.
Yeah, no question about it. 27.9 for Vazios. He actually tied Hagino on the last 50, so you would think Hagino would chase him down. He's the best freestyler, except maybe outside of Scott, and then all of a sudden, no way. I'm not letting you catch me. Vazios right there. You see him from underneath. 27.9 at the end. Scott had the fastest last 50, 27.7. Actually, Josh Pernot had the fastest, but he was 27.6, but he ended up trailing badly, and the Current lost a lot of points to the war right there.
London get a relay win, and now they have their first individual win, and Mark's down with the winner. And Rowdy, what I think is so interesting is now the women's 200 IM comes on the pool deck. This is an event that Tokyo really dominated a week ago. They won both the men's and the women's 200 IM and 400 IM. You expect them to potentially do the same, but Vazios jumps out, and now Sydney Pickram's going to stand in the way of Ohashi, potentially in that battle between lane number 4 and 7 here on the women's side.
Well, Pickram did win the second match, absolutely, but, and this is a big but, Ohashi went 2 seconds faster when she won match 3, and Pickram has already swum the 200 breaststroke. Certainly their best chance. Siobhan O'Connor actually I say her best chance. How about Siobhan O'Connor? She's the one that could be a huge factor here. Rated 9th in the ISL. Bailey Anderson for DC Trident, rated 4th. She finished 2nd to Pickram in match number 2.
But there's Ohashi, her event rating, it's 8th. She only has 1 win. Gets another win, I would expect that she would certainly climb up the ISL rating system.
5 swimmers rated in the top 10 in this event. Ohashi, very good, just all around swimmer. She really doesn't have a weakness. I thought coming into the meet, breaststroke would be the weakness, but she proved me wrong on that. She had a great breaststroke leg in the 200 IM the first match.
Yeah, Ohashi really looks like she's found that easy speed, the first 50 in the butterfly.
Her teammate Imai out fast, 27.5, but there are 3 or 4 swimmers right there within a half a second of each other after the first 50.
Gasson trying to get into the mix for the LA Current, currently 3rd, but here is Ohashi starting to take control of the race. Man, what a great backstroke leg for her from virtually even. Let's see how big her lead is.
Wow, what a leg. Bernie, what a leg for Ohashi. 31.5, nobody else broke 32. Pickram was 32.1.
But now we'd expect Pickram, the Canadian, who swam together with Beryl Gastadello in college at Texas A&M, to maybe move up here on the breaststroke leg.
I would think so, but Ohashi was so good on her breaststroke leg. She outsplit Pickram when she swam the 200 IM earlier. They didn't swim against each other, but it looks like Pickram's certainly going to pick up room here in the breaststroke. Ohashi's holding her own, though, 36.2. Pickram was 35.9, so now no doubt she outsplit her, but she's not going to catch her.
Ohashi trying to get a win for Tokyo. They last won the 200 breaststroke with Shimizu. They could use some points. They find themselves trailing London by 8 points. Will this help Tokyo move up the standings?
Look at her.
Ohashi with her 2nd ISL win, the Frog Kings. Two for 2. Not a bad way to start your ISL career.
29.7 for Ohashi. Outsplit everybody in the field except for Gorbenko, who did a nice job for LA to grab 3rd. Pickram was 30.1. She was solid, no doubt about it. She went from 4th to 3rd and then held on to 2nd the last 100. Gorbenko moved from 6th at the 50 to 3rd, and Ohashi went from 3rd to 1st the rest of the way and outsplit everybody right there to win this pretty comfortably by a full second over Pickram.
All right, so LA still in the lead over London. 8.5 points, but Tokyo climbing closer to the London Roar. Folks, we expect it to be like this throughout both days, all the way down to the skins. It took the skins that decided earlier this season between Tokyo and LA Current, and now men's 50 breaststroke. Onto the pool deck, Adam Peaty. Morrisov back onto the pool. He's got to get a much better start than he did in the 50 freestyle. It's so intriguing to see a guy like Vladimir Morrisov, that you expect to get a great start like Caleb Dressel, just didn't get a good jump in the 50 free.
He has not looked sharp. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, you just have to look at the clock and the placement. He's just not sharp thus far these first 2 weeks. In fact, he's not on either medley relay for men, the A or B relay for Tokyo on the men's relay. So that's another shocker right there. And here we go with the best, the man, the legend.
Adam Peaty. See his ISL rating, 5th in this event. Again, he is known certainly for his 100 breaststroke. He and Morozov, the only 2 in this field that have won this event. Morozov won this event a year ago in Dallas. Adam Peaty won this event in Budapest.
Good start for Peaty. Great start for Morozov there. Much better off the block than he was in the 53. 0.59, quickest of the field.
And Morozov is the one to try to track down after the first 25. Can anyone grab him? Oh, here comes Peaty home and down the stretch. Oh, it's gonna be Peaty. Does it? Oh, jackpot London.
Boy, what a race. Down the stretch. Morozov fell down to 4th. 5/100ths of a second over Silva. What a great swim for Silva to get second. But Adam Peaty, boy, he cut it close, didn't he? 26-1, still off of what he went in match 2. But he just looks sharper, you know. I mean, every single race he swims, it just seems he's starting to figure it out. Remember, all of these athletes have not swum for months and months and months in race. Look at Silva right there in the middle. Dark cap, Peaty to his left. There's where Peaty went by him right at the end. Boy, it was close. Oh, how close was that? That last stroke, Peaty surged into the wind.
Well, in a match of runs, London now all of a sudden has taken 3 of the last 6. And look at how tight it is. 1.5 points is the lead for the LA Current over the London Roar. And I think it gets even better for them, Rowdy, here in the 50 breaststroke with Ali Atkinson coming onto the pool deck. When it wasn't Lily King winning the 50 breaststroke, it was Ali Atkinson. You can see her ISO rating number 2. And this could be a big jackpot. We talk about the jackpot time rule, 1.15 seconds for Atkinson. So to keep your points, you have to finish, supposedly, I guess you would say, behind Atkinson, but within that range. If not, Atkinson could snatch it away.
And Atkinson will be a big factor on that medley relay coming up very shortly. But right now, business to take care of. She did not swim the 200 breaststroke, so this is her first event of the day. Feeling fresh, feeling good.
She was a big pickup for the London Roar a year ago. She didn't get to go to the finals in Las Vegas because she was a part of Team Iron.
She'd love to get under 29. I think that's the goal right here. Make some noise on, of course, Lily King, who's been 28.8, and Pilato, who has been 28.9.
Gold cap, middle of the pool. Atkinson out to the lead, but Aoki out in lane number 7 trying to swim right with her, but it's going to be Atkinson surging into the lead.
What a turn for Atkinson. Wow.
1.15 seconds, the jackpot time rule. How many points can she get? First and third for London, and they are going to take the lead on this event. London roaring into the front.
Yeah, LA gets 6th and 8th. That's definitely a weakness for them, is the breaststroke itself. And now, boy, Atkinson, what a job. 29.6, not especially fast. You know, she actually went 4/10 slower than she went in match number 2, so the time is not impressive. But again, we have seen this over and over again where the time just does not matter when you get into the ISL. It's all about the points, your rating, MVP performance. The clock is thrown out the window, and 29.6 and 20 big points.
London has found their winning ways. They've taken 3 out of the last 4, and they lead LA now by 11.5 points. All right, Alyssa Marsh backstage, getting set to battle here in the 50 backstroke. 2 big events upcoming. Women's 50 backstroke, probably the best event of the day. The men's 50 backstroke, where the top 3 ISL rated swimmers will hit the pool deck. But Mack is going to go on trying to get the win for DC, trying down in lane number 2. Tasana is going to be in lane number 4 for London, but the question, can anybody stop this winning streak for Beryl Castadello. She was second in the 50 free, second in the 50 back, third in the 100 free. Then she won against Sarah Sjöström in the 50 butterfly, and since Rowdy, Castadello has won 10 straight events.
Really hasn't looked back at all on teammate Alyssa Marsh, who, by the way, they went 1-2 in the 50 fly. Marsh a little better in the 50 fly, but going at it here in the backstroke. Her underwaters are just terrific, but this is Toussaint, Castadello, Mack. I think Toussaint's going to be a big factor here. Kamenova, who has really been faster than Toussaint. London's loaded here in this event. They got two powerhouse swimmers, but they're going against Castadello, who has been on fire.
Remember, Mack was in the skins final against Kamenova. Toussaint has had a huge race, and Beryl Castadello, the reigning MVP, who has won 10 straight races. Castadello trying to make it 11 in a row. Who can stop her?
Great start by Kamenova and Toussaint, both from London, both at .50.
And it looks like Toussaint is going to be in the lead.
Toussaint, look at her fly. Wow.
Mack currently in second, and the streak is over. Toussaint says no more wins, Beryl. And oh, jackpot. Jackpot indeed. Toussaint, a huge race for London, and the Roar back on top.
Yeah, and I think she hurt
15 points.
I think she hurt her hand. You see her shake her hand at the end of that race, so you can see her still at it. Boy, she just jammed into that wall, and seen that before where people have actually broken their wrists, broken their fingers, touching that wall with such force, and she went out 25.96. That is second only to Olivia Smoliga at this point. It's 25.7. You can see her touch the wall. We'll see what happens here. Oh, yeah. Boy, she jammed her fingers right on that wall. Went straight in. But that's a big smile.
That is big for London.
Huge. Yeah, watch. See? Right there, she just, I don't know if that means she did, I'm great, or she's going back and forth, so it seems to be fine.
All right, from a half a point down to a 12.5-point lead in one race. But we expected that LA could take advantage on the backstrokes with how good Beryl Castadello, and it is Toussaint providing the spark. And now it's the race of the day. The top three ISL swimmers battling. Guido, Diener, Ryan Murphy. Guido a year ago went 4 for 4 in this event, including just 3/10 off the world record. But Diener comes in with the fastest time in the field this year, handing Guido his first loss of the season as he broke an 11-year-old German record in the 50 backstroke.
Well, we asked the question, should he have swum the 200 backstroke? A race where he finished 6th, but still went 150.5. How much does that take out of his performance here?
And of course, Ryan Murphy, unbeaten this season in the 50 backstroke. 2 times he's won this event. He's won the backstroke skins, but his time so far this season slower than Diener and Guido.
Yeah, Guido. Diener 22.7. He goes 22.7 here. That'll win it.
All right, Diener in 3, Guido in 4, Ryan Murphy in lane number 5. It looks like Murphy got a really good start, folks.
He sure did. 0.51. Now the speed of Guido will come through this first 25.
Guido right next to him on the inside. Ryan Murphy finds himself behind Guido. Oh, London, they do it. Guido back on top. He wins the jackpot.
22.86, the only guy to break 23 there. And London pouring it on right now. Back-to-back fantastic 50 backstrokes for London. First Tucson and now Guido. Murphy had the better start, but Guido really had the better turn and coming off of it. Boy, he is so good underwater. Look at that fantastic dolphin kick. And it explodes to the surface of the water, and that momentum carries him to 22.9. Murph gets second, but not by much. Nikolaev and Diener, who was 22.7, maybe that 200 took a little bit out of him. He finishes fourth.
Oh, London. They have won 5 of the last 7 races. They keep roaring here late on day number 1. Oh, and they're the first team over 200. Putting a little pressure on the LA Current as Guido back as the king of the 50 backstroke. Man, what a second half for the London Roar, surging into the lead. Leading the way now with 211.5 points. 2 more events before the all-important 4x100 medley relay, which chooses the skins. And again, there on the right side of the screen, Holly Hibbett. London keeps getting better this meet with Hibbett added to the roster. She won this event 2 times a year ago, won it in Dallas as well as the European Derby at home in London. But Leah Smith for Tokyo and the Frog Kings, they find themselves currently third. They could use a win right here, and Leah Smith was very good her last time out, Rowdy.
Yeah, 4.00 for her. What a swim. Only second to, well, Dumont went 4.003 for Aqua, and then Callie's 3.58, but right there with them. And Tokyo could use this win. Remember, though, they were so much better than LA the second day. If you remember back to last week, they were behind LA the first day, and they came roaring back the second day. But it would be a nice win here for Leah Smith and Tokyo to get this.
Yeah, again, this is a race not so much about the start or the first 100 meters, but can you build into it? And it seemed like Leah Smith was a bit machine-like, just kept plucking away at the rest of the field. And she got her first ISL win, 4 flat 37, you mentioned the time. Melanie Margalis, the only swimmer that we saw in match number 1, got the win going under 4 minutes as she battled against Haughey. And right now, this race is on the opposite side of the pool. Michaela Sargent, LA Current, Smith.
Smith was 158.8 at the 200 in that match 3 when she went 4.00. She's going to be out in 58 flat there, so I'm assuming she's going to be about the same. Anna Mures, who is really one of those underrated swimmers. You see to the right of your screen, Dave Salo, the coach, right there with the black T-shirt. We talked to him earlier, and he said, you know, he thought that maybe Tokyo would be behind this first day, but he has a few surprises. I know Mark was asking him about what those surprises were, and he wasn't
got to hold it close to his chest, right?
Hold his cards close to his vest for sure.
Right now they look pretty good here. And again, Tokyo, one of the 2 expansion teams, along with the Toronto Titans, that we felt like they swam very well in their first inaugural ISL meet. But out of the 10 teams in the International Swimming League this year, only 8 can move on to the semifinals, and that's why it's such a critical match for all these teams, and in particular, DC Triton. They would love to get more than that 1 point to try to help move their way into. We saw the New York Breakers get some much-needed points their last time out on the pool deck.
159.1 for Smith, 30.7 on that 50 right there. I love the swim Annie Mures is having, though, for LA. Another one, as I said, underrated swimmers. So important to LA for these relays. She has just been having a great meet thus far, especially on those relays. And look at that, swimming hundreds on relays and then moving all the way up to the 400. Another sacrifice that normally she wouldn't do, but here she is doing it for her team.
Yeah, Mura's out in lane number 6, right there in contention for a top 3 finish. Tokyo, they have a chance to go 1-2 as Smith is in charge of this 400 freestyle.
Smith is just looking so easy, and the Olympic silver medalist has played a little bit of bridesmaid to Katie Ledecky for years and years, but certainly here at ISL, she's not giving in to anybody. And right now, looks like Igarashi is kind of hanging in there for second. This does look like a nice 1-2 potential for Tokyo, which they really would love to see here. This would kind of give them a little bit of momentum as well into this medley relay. And Dave Salo thought they would have great medley relays, and they will. When they have nice to have a victory, especially on the women's side.
You can see on the faces of the Frog Kings just how much they're enjoying this team moment. Probably not a whole lot of these swimmers are used to cheering for their teammate in this once-in-a-lifetime concept of international swimming, but here they are celebrating their teammates' win, and oh, Tokyo, they're gonna go 1-2 in the 400 freestyle.
Wow, that is, again, just huge. Mures fades down to 5th. She went from 2nd to 5th, and Wilmot, how about Wilmot for London? Doing the job there. She goes 2:02 and then comes home in 2:03 and grabs 3rd for London, which is exactly what they needed. They got a 3rd and 6th out of that. But Tokyo 1-2, 159.1, 2:01 flat for Leah Smith. Wins it by 4 seconds. And we'll pick up some big-time jackpot points here.
Yeah, Leah Smith scores 12 points. And combined for Tokyo, they score 19. So now they're within 19.5 points of LA. But oh, London, back half here on day number 1, up by 30.5 points.
Well, here's why Seliskar, if you're wondering, was taken out of the 200 IM. He is now swimming the 400 freestyle. No, he's been taken out of that as well. Had him down as being taken, but now I look at the official screen and he is not swimming the 400 freestyle either.
And that's big for LA.
It is.
You think about the points that he could have won.
Huge.
You see Timon Voss coming in, the Norwegian.
He can swim so many different events from those 200s. He can swim a 200 free, he can swim a 200 IM, 400 IM, 400 free. So certainly questionable why he's not swimming. We'll try to get to the bottom of that, but that's one big reason why LA is in that position right now.
And so we expect the battle to be now at the bottom of the pool between Zane Grothy, who's won this event 4 times, and James Guy, who has 1 event win. He won this event in Las Vegas a year ago. In fact, London was 1-2 in the Vegas final.
Grothy was 339.7. The first or the second match.
Matsumoto Quintero out in 7 and 8 for the Tokyo Frog Kings. Well, Tokyo, they go 1-2, getting the win, and Leah Smith is down with our own Mark Foster. Well, big time performance for Tokyo and the Frog Kings. They have 170.5 points. And final individual race before we break down that 400 medley relay into the winner of the skins. And right now, DC Triton, they could use a victory as well. We saw them get a win early on in event number 3 with Amy Bilquist, but outside of that, DC Triton has been a bit quiet, if you will.
And Grothy looks much more sharp here, much sharper than he did in match 4. He looked good in match 2. He's 339.7, but he was out in 149.4. Here he's out in 148.6 at the 200. Keeping an eye on London, who you thought might have a chance. Tom Dean, James Guy, first time swimming. So, you know, this is going to be tough for them. These guys have all swum. All of them have at some point or another. So Dean and James Guy will certainly get better as the meet goes along. But right now, they are way back behind Grothy and Stepjanovic. .28.4, 28.2 for Stepjanovic, who's actually making a little bit of move on Grothy. And again, this would be a big victory for DC, who are, again, just way behind, but they can play spoiler in a big way. And tomorrow is another day. And if they can somehow keep it close here and maybe make some noise on that medley relay.
Oh, look at that. They tied! 341.46. Oh, my goodness. Well, it is Kaylin Sando's mom, Jill's birthday. How about this for a birthday present? A tie in the 400 freestyle for DC. Oh, we have reached the biggest moment of day 1, match 5. There they are, the men getting ready for the 400 medley relay. But first, we will find out what the stroke the woman will swim as we bring on the teams and break it down for me. Again, we talked at the very beginning, Anderson may be the difference maker for London.
Yeah, she will definitely be a huge difference maker. Coming in without Anderson split in there and a 53 flat, she went 51.5. They were 0.2 of a second behind the current. How about Tokyo? 0.2 of a second behind LA as well. That's how tight it is on paper. Tokyo goes with a hot Ann and Teramura, who was 104.3 on the B relay. She replaces Oki, who was 105.8. So all of a sudden, they are going to be a big factor. 3 teams here, London, LA, and Tokyo. And I think I give the slight advantage to London. If Anderson can follow up again with the split she did. Weitzel now has had some rest. And that's what she needed. About an hour. Weitzel will anchor for LA. I don't know. I think this is dead even with London and LA.
And I think you talked about earlier that the key leg for LA is probably right here.
Right here.
Allie Duluth.
No question about it. She was 56.9, Bernie. A good point. Absolute key leg. She's got to follow that 56.9 and with another sub 57 if they're going to have a chance. Because we already saw what Toussaint did in the 100 back. I meant to say what she did in the 50 back when she went 25.9.
All right, the winner gets to pick the skins, and Toussaint is going after it for London.
Well, you've got to figure Toussaint's going to have the lead. There's no question about it. All Duluth has to do is keep it close, which she did the first time. London won the second match. Current won the third match. Toussaint was 56.5. Duluth was 56.9. That's what she's got to go here. She's got to go under 57. And, of course, Toussaint's got to be that solid mid-56.
Yeah, you would think if London can win this, it would be a big boost for them because they would have I would think Allie Atkinson's from the breaststroke.
Yeah,
She
no
is
question.
miles ahead of the rest of the field from what we saw earlier today.
No question that London will choose the breaststroke. I would be shocked if they chose anything else. And Tucson is taking it now to the field. And Duluth, although Duluth is coming back a little bit, 56-6, 57-3 for Duluth.
Only 4/10 between London and Tokyo.
Great start. Oh, Gorbenko. I've got a TBD on Gorbenko. What that means was she was really, really fast on her takeoff. TBD means to be determined. Did she false start? She's right above Atkinson.
And that would end it for LA.
That would be a very tough situation to get out of if you're LA. If you get DQ'd because you lose a bunch of points. But it might not matter because London is just sailing along right now. 29-6 on the way out for Atkinson. That's what she went in the individual 50.
All right, Waddle getting set with London in the lead. Only remedy rule, hell, DC Triton. They are in the mix.
DC Triton, how about Bilquist at 56.8 and Kozlowski at 104.9? Late change. She went from the B relay to the A relay. Good choice for them. 104.4 for Atkinson. Gorbenko 104.7. So they fall further behind, and it's all up to Gastadello to give a chance to Weitzel.
Still a big margin, almost 2 seconds.
Not gonna
the
happen.
lead.
And she's gonna go in further behind than she did on the women's 400 free relay. And look at Waddle go. What a split for her. And by the way, she was .08. She was close to false starting, but she did not.
Oh, London in the lead with Anderson diving in. Almost 2 seconds up.
She outsplit Gastadello by a second. 55-7, 56-6. That's how good Waddle was on that relay. Unbelievable split for Waddle, and London will choose the skins here. And that is just huge for them. Absolutely, I can't begin to tell you how big this is for London.
Remember, London chose the skins, and they went with backstroke. They picked right, of course, because they did win the skins when they took home that record-winning match number 1. And for the second time in ISL 2020, London chooses the skins again. They win the medley relay. LA second, Tokyo third.
Wow. You don't think Anderson is going to be a factor? Already, she has proven to be the biggest single factor for LA. 51 flat. Freya Anderson, I'll say it again, 51 flat, but boy, she was close on that relay. Oh my goodness, .01 on the start for Freya Anderson. Huge risk for her that she did not need to take. They'll definitely clean that up for next time, but right now it doesn't matter. They win it going away, and LA is still to be determined on whether or not they false started.
Mel Marshall picking the skins. Marcus down with the roar. Yeah, London, and by the way,
LA
did get disqualified, and they have slid to third. Tokyo into second place. Time to pick the men's skins now, Rowdy. What do you think?
Well, this looks like it's all LA. I mean, as close as the other one was on paper, this one doesn't look close. But again, London has come to swim today, and I would not push anything past London winning this relay. I would not be surprised. Let's put it that way. If London wins this relay, there's no shock for me, because Guido having a meet today wins the 50. Petey, he wins the 50. They don't match the last two legs that LA has.
London with 7 wins. LA with 7 wins. Can either one get their 8th win so that they can pick the skins?
And the wild card in this is Tokyo. I would pick them to be right there with London and LA. The problem is Morozov. What does he have in the 100? If it's the regular Vladimir Morozov, I picked Tokyo. But he only went 47-1 last week. He goes 47-1. Tokyo won't be close.
But the question is, Rowdy, as far as LA's concerned, this is big for them, because
Huge.
You would think that the backstroke is one of the only races that they have a really good chance of winning the skins as far as the makeup of their team and the sprinters.
In their arsenal, there's no doubt about it. That's what they have. They've got the backstroke, and that's just about it. You could say Shields in the 50. Oh, boy. Guido, 49.5. Murph was 50.2. Wow. Big start for London. Big start. That right there, again, if London wins this race, it goes back to Guido.
And it is Adam Peaty in the middle against Silva. And even for Tokyo, Koseki is trying to charge. If Tokyo won, that would be big for them. They would go with Morozov in the freestyle, and I would think that he would be almost unbeatable.
Well, if you're LA, you want Tokyo to win. If they can't win, you want Tokyo. So they match up much better in the 50 freestyle. Remember, Golomayev won the 50. So you've got to figure if Tokyo can pull it out. If LA can't, that would be a benefit for LA. But right now, London looking great, and look at the greatest. 56.3 for Petey. Silva 56.5. That's the best split for Silva by far. So that definitely keeps them in it. And don't forget, you've got Tom Shields going.
All right, Tom Shields from the butterfly trying to catch up. Kawamoto trying to move up for Tokyo. Oh, look at this one. London, LA, Tokyo, all within 6 tenths.
48.7. Shields went last week. Kush was 50.2. So you got to figure Shields is going to have a big turn here.
Can Tom Shields give LA the lead? Indeed, he can. Turning it over to Rooney. Rooney and LA diving first with Duncan Scott trying to track him down.
Well, that again, if you talk about what Guido brought to London, it was Tom Shields that did it for LA. 48.3. He outsplit Kush by over a second and a half. And now it falls all on Morozov and Scott.
All right, Morozov. Scott, can anyone catch Rooney? He leads it with 25 meters to go. LA eyeing the skins pick.
I think they're going to do it. And they can breathe a sigh of relief.
Maxine Rooney, LA, they've done it. How big is that after they were disqualified on the women's side?
And no false starts. No DQs across the board. 45.8 for Maxime Rooney. Best split he's had thus far. And boy, he needed to have it. Look at Guido. Look at Guido do what he needed to do. Petey followed up with a solid 56-3. But the key leg really was Tom Shields and LA's weakest leg, 56-5 for Silva. But how about that anchor? 45 plus at the end, and they go a second faster than they went last week.
How about London? They built a 65.5 point lead. What a day for the London Roar. MVP standings, Toussaint. 1 point advantage over Gastadello as London eyes matching the Cali Condors and remaining unbeaten here for ISL 2020. Our team standings at the end of day one, match number 5. How about that second half for the London Roar? Now 65.5 points ahead of LA and Tokyo, battling it out for second. Oh, what a day here on day number 1. We are back here to see how it concludes. For Mark Foster, Rowdy Gaines, and our entire ISL crew, I'm Bernie Gunther saying so long for Budapest. We will see you back here tomorrow as we conclude match 5 of ISL 2020.